I don't think they did their party any good with
Yep.
this relentless quote unquote resisting. I mean, I guess it's. I have the feeling what they're doing is they're appealing to this very loud, very radical part of their party, which they see as their base, and they're locked in this echo chamber, and they don't realize that 80% of the rest of the country doesn't really agree with them. I did see an article about apparently some people are having some sort of trauma over the fact that the United States won the hockey game for the Olympics. And they were saying it's perfectly normal to feel, cringe and horrified and disgusted by America winning and all, especially if you realize how bad America is. And it's like, what? I mean, who's teaching people to hate the country they live in? And it's always like, all right, well, what country are you from then? You're going to burn your credit cards and passport and your license. I mean, a country's like a lifeboat. I mean, you don't start kicking holes in your own lifeboat just because somebody else's lifeboat isn't as good as yours. And you don't let every other single person swimming around on the lifeboat. When the Titanic went down, that they were saying, go back and rescue them. It's like, we will all die then. If you row the boat back and you have so.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we are seeing the same sort of phenomenon in Britain as well. I don't know, I would argue maybe much more than in Britain, or much more evident in Britain.
Well, your lifeboat was so much bigger with the empire,
I mean, at the moment,
and even the Commonwealth after that for a while was kind of a ersatz empire, and that didn't, I mean, they're basically independent countries now. Although, as I always tell my friends from New Zealand when they talk about it being an independent country, I said, the king is on your money. You've got a Union Jack on your flag, okay? The only countries that ever really kicked out the empire were India, Rhodesia, the United States. I think that's about it. Oh, well, Scotland did a good job of kicking England out at one time, but I don't think that counts. So, but all the other countries are like Canada. You still got the English king on your money, so I don't think you're that far.
We're still part of the British Empire.
And even in India, that's a bit of a sticking point at the moment. Yeah.
But you mentioned so the hockey thing, right? So the U.S. won against Canada, right? You know that. And Canada got the silver, and I'm surprised by his statement. He usually makes fun of Canada. He usually belittles Canada, right? Yeah. But in this case, he's like, "Oh, congratulations to you guys! You beat a great team. Canada is a tremendous team. So it's but we're better, kind of thing. But he didn't put down Canada. So
well, you don't want to at that point. I mean, aside from the fact that everything Trump says is for effect. I mean, he's basically memeing all of his statements, but also. You don't want to lose. I mean, you don't want to say, "Hey, we won, but that Canadian team was really crappy." Blind Girl Scouts could have won. You don't want to win against a weak opponent. You want to say we battled the mighty Canadians and we overcame even Canada, which, to be fair, I've always regarded as the top hockey country.
Yeah, well, I mean, we invented hockey.
Yeah,
Canada invented hockey. And we beat them.
I think, I mean, if you look up Canada in the dictionary, there's a picture of a hockey puck. It's so no, that was quite remarkable, and and I'd like to remove athletics from the political process. Unfortunately, it was unavoidable in this case.
That was sad. That was actually pretty sad.
I feel somehow he purposely set up traps for the Democrats.
When he said, I did see the thing about like anyone here that thinks the U.S. government should serve Americans before illegal aliens, please stand up. Not a single Democrat stands up. That's awful.
Stand up if you agree that the purpose of the U.S. government is to protect U.S. citizens first before illegal.
That's why it's the U.S. government.
So that's
because
one.
we're paying the taxes on it, we're voting for it. It's our government supposedly.
That's one, and then the other, he brought in a whole bunch of victims of illegal immigrants or immigrants.
Oh yeah.
That little girl that got totally slaughtered on the train, and then and some veterans that got totally crippled from some event of some sort.
Well, let me kind of go in on that about the little girl who got stabbed on the train. Okay, now just so you know, this has become.
Well, she wasn't a little girl for one thing. She was a grown woman.
She was a grown woman, but her story has been
not little girl.
Her story has been used time and time again on platforms.
Little in terms of stature, not of age.
But her story has been used by a lot of white supremacist groups that have been brewing hate for the last 6 months over that shit. I mean that's the thing that's the worst part about it. Like he threw that up on national television, and then he turns around and he did that thing about South African farmers genocide.
Yeah. That's a horrible situation down there. Well, the thing is, if you don't want to give fuel to white supremacists, don't do things to give fuel to white supremacists.
Right.
Because the other approach is, let's pretend this didn't happen, then no one will know that illegal aliens are committing all these crimes, and if they don't know it, it won't bother them, and we can keep raking in the money and raking in the votes and all the other things that they do when they open the borders. And I really do think Red China is behind it. But so it's that's unfortunate, but any event is going to be taken up. And if they are worried about the white supremacists using this, it's only because it actually supports many of their arguments. Now, I personally think their arguments are too extreme. There's always a solution to a problem, but not all the solutions are equally good. It gets back to that idea of everything should be looked at philosophically, theoretically, and practically. Philosophically, it's a great idea to have a homogenous country, an ethno-state. Theoretically, you start seeing the problems in that, especially in such a diverse, if you'll pardon the expression, cultures in the United States. And then to practically apply it, that's just probably just a crime, basically. So, you've got these issues, and of course, they're like, well, let's lynch foreigners or whatever their solution is, ethnic cleansing or whatnot. That's not the solution you want. We've got a solution. We simply, and I mean, it's a no-brainer. Every other country in the world that I've ever heard of is that foreigners can't live in your country illegally. I don't call them illegal aliens. They are foreigners living in my country illegally. That's all. That's all it is. What is wrong with deporting people, especially when so many of them? I mean, they are criminals because they're here illegally. So they're all criminals. That is a crime. Some of them have been here for like 20 years and more. Those guys should get fined heavily for ripping us off for that long. But it's a no-brainer to have a secure border. I mean, Ralph Nader, whom I was a big Nader supporter in his day, he was really big on closed borders and getting rid of illegal aliens because and tariffs too. All of these ideas that Trump are coming up with are things that the left, Democrats, it was universal. And I think what started happening was a lot of Chinese money started flowing in. And again, that whole short term, I'm going to make a lot of money now. I'm going to do something that's going to make my supporters, my donors happy. And it's a very short-sighted way of looking at things. And Trump is one of the few people that has entered politics with a long view. As I was saying last night before I had to leave, he's a world historic figure, and world historic figures are really fun to read about. Oh wow, Napoleon, he did this and that. Yeah, but to actually live in France at the time of Napoleon, that wasn't a fun thing to do necessarily. It's very confusing and chaotic. Hey, we're gonna have another war. Get ready. I mean, when you think about the Napoleonic Wars, which really started with the French Revolutionary Wars, you had young men born, growing up, and dying, and never knowing anything but a state of war, right? I mean, those wars went on for like 20 years and more. That's like a generation of nothing but warfare. That's a world historic figure. They're fun to read about, and they might do quote unquote great things that future generations will thank them for. But on the ground at the time, it's not always that fun. So, buckle up is all I can say. We've got a world historic figure at the helm, so look out.
Yeah. Anyway, so there was I don't know who said this, but there's a meme or a phrase that goes like, if your hatred for one man is greater than your love of your country, then the problem is you, kind of thing. I don't know who said that. But last night was basically an illustration of that statement. That is, I feel like it brought that meme into life for the Democrats.
Yeah, they didn't do themselves any favors.
Yeah,
but I still that they don't think they need to actually win elections. I think not that like you're supposed to. I think they still think they can block the voting Save Act. Block
Save
the
America
reforms and voting. And block the. I mean, 2020 was horrible, and it was so in your face when they did that, and a lot of it was we're being obvious about this. We're going to win. He's not coming back, and this in your face. Okay, country, in your face. We did it, and all our media scream. And what got me was after 2020, every time they would say like somebody calls into question the results of the election, and there would be this hysterical screeching. But Biden won. He really did won. There's no evidence. Why are you so? Methinks she doth protest too much, to misquote Shakespeare. I mean. It's just like, he won. He really did it. He really won. And making it so obvious, so it was meant, I thought, as a kind of a kick in the tender area of the state. I'm trying to keep it clean here. And
PG-13.
I'm telling everybody, yeah. So, and they were really horrified by the anger. I mean, I knew a lot of guys that were very pissed about 2020. I was very pissed about 2020. And you didn't hear a lot about it because, of course, the media censored it. But that was what drove a lot of people to the polls. And I remember them getting more and more, well, we put him in the court and changed all the rules and made him a felon. And they're still voting for him. And we did this and we called him that. And he said this, and they're still voting for him. And a lot of it wasn't so much about liking Trump as hating them. I think they're really pushing quote unquote normal people away, and normal people are still the majority in this country. So as far as what is ahead of us, I don't know. I really don't know. But I did see a thing recently where what's her name there? The Nomi apparently found that her phone and her computers had been tapped by people inside of her own agencies in order to spy on her.
Christy Noem, you mean?
Yeah.
Christy Noem.
She was being spied. She said when the Doge people came in, they found all this stuff, and they found like rooms full of files that they never told her about it. And it was all like basically tapping other politicians. They haven't gotten into too many details of who. And that's pretty bad. that is the deep state. That is the deep state.
She found this out after she became the Homeland Security Secretary?
Yeah. While she was the Secretary of Homeland Security, these things were put on her devices. I don't have the story right in front of me now. But I just read it earlier today. Yeah.
That actually reminds me.
Apparently, they discovered it
when Theresa May was Home Secretary in the UK. I think that must have been 2015, 2016, maybe. She was asked in Parliament if there was phone tapping between constituents and their elected MPs.